Kitchen Witch Cooking, created, directed, and presented by Reverend Dr. Dikki Joe Mullen. In this video, Dr. Mullen will explore various comfort food recipes that come from various kitchen witches over the centuries, food that we all are familiar with in some way based on our mother's cooking or grandmother's. Here then is Dr. Mullen talking about kitchen witch cooking.
This is astrologer Dikki Joe Mullen in Orlando, Florida, with astrology and kitchen witch traditions. Finding truth in the heavens above, that's what astrology is all about. And kitchen magic is comfort in the healing qualities of a hot cup of tea or bowl of soup. The image suggests how the kitchen and herb garden can provide a magical setting to find sacredness in everyday life and routine tasks. Kitchen witchcraft, that's what it's all about. It lends itself to solitary mystical purposes, usually honoring goddess traditions passed from grandmother to mother to daughters. Some aspects of kitchen witchery include cooking, joy and housekeeping, honoring the goddess with a statue or shrine in the kitchen, and healing herbs. This type of magic is informal, spontaneous, and usually not group-oriented. Subtle and discreet, this life-giving type of magic is a force that's positive. We are what we eat. Let your food be your medicine, and your medicine be your food. That would be at the heart of kitchen witchery. Common kitchen ingredients have astrological correlations, as everything on our planet does. Try assembling a magical pantry to begin by thoughtfully selecting your staples, keeping in mind their astrological correlations. The first staple in many kitchens is flour. Flour is ruled by the planet Jupiter. Usually the base is wheat, and it's possible to draw symbols or pictures in a little bit of sifted flour on a cutting board before beginning to cook. A cereal grain turned into cake, cookies, or pasta, above all bread, becomes the staff of life itself. Cereals were probably the first cultivated crop 10,000 years ago or more in present-day Turkey, and grown from seed in a few months to harvest, self-pollinated and easily stored, it allowed homes to be established as people no longer had to be nomads. Sufficient food, and usually in the form of wheat, allowed villages to trade and knowledge to be shared. From Turkey, this idea of cultivation spread to the Aegean about 8,500 years ago, and then later on to India about 6,000 years ago. By 5,000 years ago, the magic of flour was touching Spain, England, and Europe. And by 3,000 years ago, it had spread all over China. Horse-drawn plows were developed, and by the 1800s, grain that was harvested by sickles and crushed by hand began to be used, and a reaping machine, in order to be an aid toward the industrialized society that we have. Moving up a step, water and flour combined harness energy around us to create the world that we live in. Another staple in your kitchen witch pantry would be almonds. Almonds are ruled by the Sun and Leo, secondarily by the planets Venus and Jupiter. Nut foods, bark leaves, and tea all can be combined to cure dysentery, clean wounds, and skin ulcers, make flutes out of wood. Music is the voice of the angels. Almonds, native to India and Syria, were the first cultivated trees. They're actually a fruit related to plums, apricots, and cherries, and were found in Tut's tomb in Egypt. mentioned in the Bible. Almonds can be used for curing illnesses. The bitter almond, a white almond, is an anti-carcinogen, whereas the pink almond is edible. Almond flour, for those who are allergic to wheat, is a great source of vitamin E. It'll balance cholesterol. Spanish missionaries took almonds to California, and now the United States is a leading producer of almond flour and almond milk. Walnuts, ruled by the Sun, Leo, Mercury, and Gemini, can be used to make a dye. Pecans, used by the Native Americans, are ruled by Venus. They're a wonderful protein source. And peanuts can be used to make all sorts of wonderful foods, and they're ruled by the Sun, Gemini, and Virgo. They're versatile and they keep a long time. Next in your witch's pantry, you'll want to have cinnamon. Cinnamon is ruled by the Sun and Jupiter, and it's wonderful to enhance prosperity and spirituality, healing, and happiness. It boosts brain activity, and it's an antibiotic. It's always precious. It's the bark of a small evergreen native to Sri Lanka. And it was first used at least 1,000 years ago. It's described as an anointing oil in the Song of Solomon. Wild cinnamon or cashemin bark is another type of cinnamon. Hildegard von Bingen, who was a favorite kitchen witch, I think, used cinnamon in her cookies of joy. She lived from 1098 to 1179 BC and was known as the Sibyl of the Rhine. This wonderful prophetess, herbalist, healer, poet, and musician was distinguished in her own lifetime. Her writings and art are still with us 1,000 years later, and one of the legacies that she left us were the first natural antidepressants. Hildegard wrote, "Take some nutmeg, an equal weight of cinnamon, and a little bit of cloves, pulverize them into small cakes, and mix this with wheat and water." There's a modern recipe on my website, Sky Maiden Musings, that you can access for free. Just put Hildegard's name in the search engine, and the recipe and more information about this special kitchen witch will surface right away. Moving forward, some other staples to have in your pantry are basil, which brings wealth and luck and is related to Mars. Basil helps one to get the upper hand in any situation where that's needed. Next, chives, which are ruled by Mars and Saturn, are good for protection. Sage is wisdom and longevity. It's related to the planet Jupiter. A chant to say, to draw in wisdom and a positive state of mind, is, "Sage make green the winter rain, charm the demon from my brain." Using sage as a tea or a cookery enhancement, and chanting that will help very, very much with positive thinking and wellness. Parsley, which protects the breath, that's why it's often served on a plate, is ruled by Mercury. Its protection and purifying as a garnish. Peppermint, the aspirin of the herb world, represents sleep, psychic powers, relief from pain. It's a wonderful condiment and flavor additive in so many different preparations. Is ruled by Venus, Jupiter, and Mars. Rosemary will enhance the memory, just the fragrance of it. It represents love, joy. It's ruled by both the moon and the sun. Turmeric is one of the most popular herbs right now, and it is a detox. It's ruled by Virgo. Butter is another staple to have in your magical pantry, ruled by the moon and Venus. thousands of years, butter has been used as a protein source. It can be heated to make something called ghee. This is an emulsion. It's actually clarified butter, and it was used as long ago as 10 to 11,000 years ago in Mesopotamia, the cradle of civilization, made from sheep's, goats, or cow's milk. Mixed with sugar as a cooking medium, butter will work as an emergency food in almost any time. And in fact, it's been found in peat bogs in the United Kingdom, buried long ago, and I wouldn't want to eat it, but supposedly it's still edible. Vanilla is another staple ruled by Venus. It'll enhance love and passion. It's an aromatherapy from Mexico, and it is related strongly to a princess who fled and was taken by her mortal love. They were both executed, and their blood grew into a vanilla vine in ancient times. It's a fleshy green vine with small flowers, a member of the orchid family. Dates, ruled by the sun, are wonderful to have in your magical pantry. 8,000 years ago in North Africa, they were related to the tree of life. They're sacred in Morocco, and often they're served with yogurt or milk. Finally, we have chocolate, ruled by Neptune, a drink of the gods. It introduces euphoria. It's an antidepressant and native to Central and South America. For over 3,500 years, kitchen witches have been using it, mixed with coffee, cayenne pepper, and other additives. There's something of a sinister history, though. Chocolate was once related to slavery, colonization, and it was so desirable it was smuggled on the black market and served in special cafes in Europe during holiday seasons. Some believe that chocolate will help to relieve high blood pressure. And it does work as a euphoria for anyone who's very depressed. It's kind of an image that chocolate is a good substitute for love. Well, maybe that would work. Ginger is ruled by the planet Mars. There's a wonderful drink with honey, vinegar, ginger, and cinnamon that is quite a terrific tonic. And before chocolate, ginger was considered one of the most popular commodities from Europe to Asia. It's an underground root, and it's mentioned in a medical book as far back as the time of Confucius. Kitchen witches will use it in chutney, pickles, ginger ale, and crystallized added to sugar as a candy. Sugar comes from the Caribbean, and it was once thought to be as valuable as gold. Of course, too much of it isn't good, but sugar is ruled by Venus and Jupiter, and it is something we can use in drinks, candy, desserts, not just as a luxury item today. And every kitchen witch pantry has to have salt. Salt is ruled by Saturn, Capricorn, and Aquarius. It's as crucial as air to our lives. And it regulates the water content of the body, but too much salt can again be an aggravant or cause high blood pressure. Celery, paid in salt, is a word that goes with salt. Roman soldiers, the word soldier often was related to the word salt. It's been used as a preservative all the way back to the times of ancient Egypt. So there is your kitchen witch pantry. Start with one or two items, add others. Think of the inherent magic and history, and a cook's mental attitude affects and impacts the foods around us. It's always good to remember that a toxic or angry cook or anger while cooking can do a lot to take away the food value of a good meal. So remember the magic of cookery and the planetary rulerships, and this will add new flavor and a sense of deliciousness to your own magical pantry and career of kitchen witchery. This is Dikki Jo in Orlando, Florida, saying bon appetit.